You are not going to believe what the FIA has just uncovered. A new piece of footage has surfaced that could completely flip the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix on its head. This shocking evidence centers on the Tsunoda Norris clash, and insiders say it is the most impactful material the FIA has reviewed all season. McLaren is suddenly in deep trouble, Red Bull is pushing hard for an immediate penalty, and the FIA is preparing to take decisive action that could shake the championship standings. Stay right here because this situation is escalating by the minute, and you do not want to miss the outcome. Make sure you subscribe to the channel right now so you are the first to know when the FIA drops their final ruling. As the sun set over the Yas Marina circuit, what should have been a regular post-race analysis session turned into a full-blown investigation. The FIA quietly reviewed data logs and onboard footage after several teams raised concerns, but now, it's no longer quiet. The newly surfaced evidence is centered on a moment between Yuki Tsunoda and Lando Norris that, until now, flew under the radar. But once Red Bull submitted an official complaint backed by enhanced footage and telemetry, things escalated fast. According to insiders close to the FIA, the footage shows a controversial offline maneuver that potentially gave Norris a massive advantage in the sector following the incident with Tsunoda. While the move wasn't initially flagged during the race, experts are now calling it a clear breach of racing conduct, especially given how it unfolded near a DRS detection zone. The stewards reportedly reviewed the moment in ultra-slow motion and confirmed that this wasn't just a racing incident, it could be grounds for retroactive sanctioning. This puts McLaren in an incredibly difficult spot. The team had been celebrating what seemed to be a hard-fought result, but now they're on the defensive. Lando Norris has not spoken to the media since the news broke, and even Tsunoda appeared surprised when asked about the development in the paddock. Red Bull, on the other hand, is pressing hard for accountability, stating that consistency in stewarding must be upheld, especially this late in the season when everything is on the line. If the FIA rules against Norris, the penalty could be substantial. A 5-second time penalty would drop him multiple positions, possibly out of the points, while a harsher judgment could involve a grid penalty for the next race or even disqualification. This decision doesn't just impact Norris, it could shake up the entire championship table. With points so tight at the top, any shift could mean a change in who takes home the trophy in Abu Dhabi. Even more dramatic is the ripple effect this could have on Oscar Piastri, Lando's teammate. If Norris is penalized and Piastri's finishing position is bumped forward, it could alter the team strategy calculus moving forward. In fact, some fans are speculating online whether this opens the door for Piastri to emerge as a surprise hero in the closing chapters of the season. Whether that's realistic or just fan hype remains to be seen, but the stakes are undeniably massive. Meanwhile, Ferrari and Mercedes are watching closely. Both teams have been pushing the FIA all season for stricter enforcement and equal treatment across the grid. And now, with this explosive situation unfolding, they're seizing the opportunity to push for cleaner, more regulated racing. The atmosphere in the paddock is electric and tense. You can feel the pressure in every garage and on every pit wall. As the FIA prepares to issue an official ruling, the entire F1 world holds its breath. Will this be a slap on the wrist or the game-changing punishment that redefines the championship finale? One thing is certain. Abu Dhabi 2025 is no longer just a race, it's a war of regulations, footage, and last-minute chaos. And this drama? It's far from over. While fans were still digesting the shockwave of the FIA's initial findings, new angles and telemetry from Red Bull's data team reportedly show an even more alarming pattern. The footage, which was enhanced frame by frame by Red Bull's analytics division, allegedly reveals Norris gaining an unfair positional advantage after going off-track, a move that now appears to be more deliberate than previously thought. This isn't just about overtaking, it's about the intent and whether or not McLaren knowingly allowed the advantage to stand. McLaren's defense, so far, has been minimal, perhaps strategic. Sources close to the team suggest they're preparing a strong internal argument to challenge the accusation, claiming that Norris returned the position or lost enough time afterward to nullify any advantage. However, the FIA seems unconvinced. With new GPS overlays and throttle/brake data provided by Red Bull, officials reportedly believe the gain was both sustained and impactful. That's where this case becomes truly dangerous for Norris. Adding even more pressure to the situation is the revelation that several team principals from rival outfits, including Ferrari and Aston Martin, have requested transparency from the FIA. They're demanding access to the evidence and are lobbying for consistent enforcement, especially after similar incidents this season received punishments. The fear? That the FIA risks setting a dangerous precedent if Norris is allowed to walk away without a penalty. For Red Bull, this isn't just about winning on the track. It's a calculated political move as well. They've been pushing for stricter application of the rulebook ever since their own drivers received penalties for similar incidents. By forcing the FIA's hand, they're not only defending fairness, they're also potentially opening the door for Verstappen to climb further up the final standings or even secure a last-minute title twist, depending on how the math shakes out. Meanwhile, the fan reaction has been intense. Social media is flooded with side-by-side comparisons of Norris incident and similar penalties issued earlier this season, and fans are calling for consistency. Hashtags like penalty for Norris and FIA justice have started trending globally, placing even more pressure on the stewards to act decisively. It's clear, the F1 community won't tolerate another controversial outcome like the one that rocked Abu Dhabi in 2021. Adding further drama, insiders report that the FIA is considering reopening other moments from the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix to ensure no other rule breaches were overlooked. This raises the possibility that what started as a single investigation could snowball into a full-scale regulatory audit of the race. If that happens, the fallout could reach even further than McLaren, potentially dragging more teams into the spotlight. With the championship picture hanging in the balance, this investigation could become one of the defining stories of the 2025 season. The FIA has promised an announcement within the next 24 to 48 hours, and every team is watching. For Lando Norris, the stakes are personal. For McLaren, they're historical. And for the sport? This is a moment that could reshape how race incidents are judged forever. As the FIA's internal review deepens, more teams are reportedly preparing legal documentation, anticipating a formal protest depending on the final ruling. According to insiders in the paddock, at least 2 teams have already requested clarification from race control regarding why Norris' maneuver was not penalized immediately during the race. This sudden escalation is putting massive pressure on both McLaren and the stewards, especially given how crucial this Grand Prix was for the final championship positions. What's even more shocking is that one high-ranking FIA source told Motorsport Media that the Red Bull evidence changes the context of the entire overtake. Apparently, it's not just a question of Norris going wide, but how he maintained throttle input during the off-track segment. If that data confirms an advantage that wasn't naturally lost afterward, the FIA could be obligated to retroactively apply a time penalty, a move that could massively alter the final results. Meanwhile, McLaren engineers were seen entering the steward's office with stacks of printed data, telemetry, sector analysis, and race simulations aiming to prove that Norris' off-track moment didn't materially impact his final race position. But with Red Bull's counter-evidence so compelling, even senior team members within McLaren are said to be cautiously bracing for the possibility of an FIA ruling that goes against them. This isn't just a bad PR moment for McLaren, it could seriously damage their competitive credibility. If Norris receives a post-race penalty, it might hand a significant advantage or even a final podium slot to Verstappen, who finished close behind. The championship ramifications, especially in the context of constructor points and driver rankings, are huge. And Verstappen's camp isn't hiding their optimism. One of his race engineers was even caught smiling when asked about the situation after the race. To make things worse for McLaren, onboard footage from Norris' car has now surfaced showing the precise angle of the turn-in, steering input, and track limits breach. Fans and analysts alike are poring over every frame, and many believe this footage alone could be enough to warrant a penalty. It's gone viral online, with hashtags like Norris penalty now and Justice for Max topping trending lists in the UK and Netherlands. The FIA, however, remains tight-lipped. In an official statement released late Sunday night, they simply said, "We are conducting a detailed review of all evidence related to the incident involving Car 4. Any regulatory action will be communicated at the appropriate time." That vague response has only fueled speculation further, with some pundits suggesting the delay means the FIA is debating whether a time penalty is enough or whether a full disqualification could be on the table. As it stands, the F1 world is holding its breath. With Verstappen potentially benefiting and McLaren's reputation on the line, the decision from the FIA could trigger one of the most controversial end-of-season moments since Abu Dhabi 2021. One thing's for sure, this isn't just a racing story anymore. It's now a political, technical, and emotional powder keg. And when the final decision drops, the entire paddock could be changed forever. Behind the scenes, Red Bull engineers weren't the only ones dissecting the footage frame by frame. AlphaTauri also reportedly flagged the Tsunoda Norris incident as race-defining, believing their driver was unfairly compromised. Team principal Laurent Mekies even hinted in a post-race interview that the FIA's original oversight warrants urgent correction before any final race results can be ratified. That single quote has reignited a firestorm on social media, with thousands of fans demanding transparency from the stewards. What's really shaken the paddock is the discovery that onboard telemetry from Norris' car doesn't match the official line initially taken by the stewards. The new GPS data shows that Norris maintained full throttle through a section of the overtake where Tsunoda was clearly forced wide, suggesting that not only did the McLaren gain an advantage, but also prevented the AlphaTauri from completing his own strategic move. This has reignited debates around lasting advantage, a term notoriously ambiguous in FIA regulations. Sources close to the investigation now suggest that the FIA may issue a retroactive grid penalty or time adjustment, depending on their final interpretation of Article 27.3 of the Sporting Code. That article specifically prohibits gaining positions by leaving the track without immediately giving them back. And while Norris never relinquished the spot, McLaren argue he was already ahead. But with new visuals showing otherwise, that defense might no longer hold. To complicate matters further, former F1 drivers have weighed in with wildly different opinions. Jenson Button told Sky Sports it was a racing incident, nothing more, while Nico Rosberg believes a penalty is 100% justified. Even Martin Brundle noted during the post-race broadcast, if this goes unpunished, it sets a precedent the FIA may regret in 2026. The debate is no longer just internal, it's become a full-blown storm across all media channels. This isn't just about the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix anymore. If the FIA rules against Norris, it could have major ramifications for McLaren's championship standing, Tsunoda's final points tally, and even driver contracts tied to performance clauses. There's also growing speculation that Tsunoda's camp may push for a formal protest if no sanction is applied. In a season already full of high drama, this could be the final domino that changes everything. Meanwhile, Verstappen, who was briefly caught up in the confusion after the move, may be the silent winner here. Red Bull strategists believe a penalty for Norris could promote Max by at least one position depending on the final classification. While the Dutch driver hasn't commented publicly, insiders say he's quietly watching the outcome and fully expects the FIA to enforce the rules consistently, a subtle reference to past controversies that still haunt the governing body. Now, all eyes turn to FIA HQ. The final verdict could come within hours or be delayed until after full team debriefs and technical meetings on Monday. Either way, the tension is almost unbearable. Abu Dhabi was supposed to mark the end of the season, but for McLaren and Tsunoda, it's only just the beginning of what could become a regulatory nightmare. One misstep in judgment here could undermine months of preparation, millions in budget, and even the legitimacy of a top 5 finish.